Hi guys, Olive here. Here today to show you the most intimidating nonfiction books on my TBR. I have read a lot of nonfiction books in my life. I've read long books, challenging books, intense books, even confusing books. I've proven to myself that I can take those books on, and yet I still get intimidated by some nonfiction books out there. Sometimes it's their length, sometimes it's their subject matter, but either way, they are books that I know are going to demand a lot of me as a reader, and that's why I feel some kind of way about actually picking them up. There are 7 books like that on my shelves, and those are the ones I want to talk about today. First up is a doozy. It's called Skull and Keys by David Allen Richards. This is a history of secret societies at Yale University, which is one of our Ivy League universities here in the United States. Many important historical figures went to Yale, and some of them were members of these exclusive groups. And this book spills all the tea. What scares me about this one is not the subject matter. I find the subject matter fascinating. It's definitely the length. This is over 800 pages long. And I am also a little bit scared off by the Goodreads reviews. This one doesn't have a ton, but the ones it does have mention that it runs a little bit dry. Big books require a big time commitment just by nature of them being extremely long, and you want to make sure that you're at least having fun with that time. So that's why I've been a little bit shy about actually taking this one on. This next one, it's definitely the subject matter that's making me wary about reading it. It's called Zoom by Bob Berman. This book is all about the science of how things move. And apparently many different types of science are covered, like biology and meteorology, but let's all be honest with ourselves here. This book is clearly going to involve a lot of astronomy and physics, which are not my strongest subjects. I can understand them on a surface level, but I am convinced that I have some sort of mental block that keep them from truly sinking into my brain, like the physics region of my brain. Silky smooth, not a ridge to be found. But the thing that actually comforts me about this one is the thing that made me nervous about the last one. This one has great reviews, and many of them compliment the writing. So this is one I could be convinced to take on sooner rather than later. The third one on this list scares me because of both its length and its subject matter. Just got that double whammy thing going for me here. It's called A History of Opera by Carolyn Abbott and Roger Parker. This is a 650-page history of opera, and it covers the past 400 years or so. I think opera is beautiful, but I'm not going to pretend that I know the faintest thing about it. So I would be going into this brick of a nonfiction book without any background, which to me is definitely intimidating, but it's also a little bit exciting. And this one also has really great reviews, so I know I won't be wasting my time when I do muster up the courage to read it. I also know The Gene by Siddhartha Mukherjee will be worthwhile when I eventually get to it, if only because I read this author's first book. It was a giant book on the history and science of cancer. It's called The Emperor of All Maladies. I read that, and while it was intense, it was incredible. And this is his second book. It's all about our genes, the codes that define our physical makeup and the way our bodies function. This is nearly 600 pages long, but I know I'm going to learn a ton. But back to history, there's another one from my shelves that I've just been hesitant to pick up. It's called The Ancient Egyptians by Sir J. Gardner Wilkinson. This is an incredibly detailed look at the culture of ancient Egyptians through discussions of their daily lives and customs. That sounds fascinating. But this one is incredibly long, which leads me to believe that it's likely going to get pretty granular at times, which, depending on the skill level of the author, could mean it gets tedious, but it could also mean that it's fascinating the whole way through. I have no way of knowing because this is a rather old book, and not many people have talked about it online. So I'm not really able to research and gauge whether or not there's a consensus on whether this book is worth my time or not. So we'll see about this one. We'll take a brief break from all those big chunky books because this next one, it's one where I find the subject matter of the book more intimidating than anything else. It's Breakfast at Sotheby's by Philip Hook. And this is apparently a breakdown of everything you need to know about art and the art worlds. And just like I was saying with the opera book, I like art, but but I'm not going to pretend that I understand it. And the whole world surrounding art as well, it seems very insular, hard to comprehend, and far too rich for my blood. Hence why that topic and this book by extension feels kind of untouchable to me. But I was reading this book kind of feels like having a very casual chat with the author who just so happens to be an expert in this area. So I am sure that eventually I will overcome my shyness and just read this. The final intimidating book I want to show you in this video is one of those double threats, because not only is the page count startling, but it is also about a topic I don't know much about. It's also extremely heavy, like probably in tone, but definitely in weight. It's called The Sea and Civilization by Lincoln Payne, as in what I'm in right now. This is apparently a retelling of world history through the lens of maritime enterprise. That's an area I don't know much about, and I am sure in this book there's going to be talk of wars, which is not something I often feel compelled to read about. I am nervous about sitting down and actually reading this one for a number of reasons. One of those reasons being that even holding this book right now feels like I'm pumping iron. But those are the handful of nonfiction books from my shelves that make me feel a little bit anxious when I think about reading them. I would love to hear from you in the comment section below, especially if you've read any of the books I spoke about today. What did you think about them? Am I right to be intimidated? Should I definitely read them? Should I not waste my time on them? And are there any nonfiction books out there that make you feel really intimidated? All the books I did mention today, I will link for you in the description box below for your clicking convenience. And at the very bottom of that exact same description box, you will also see links to everywhere you can find me around the internet, like my Goodreads, Instagram, Storygraph, all the places I'm the most active, in case you want to keep up with what I'm reading and what I'm doing right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.